The trail ran out by a standoff pine, where the fire burned low and the moon climbed high. A cup of tin and a weathered hand, dust on the cuffs and the smell of sap. The trees went dark but the roots held fast, like they knew how to carry what could not last. And the hush out there by the smoking flame made the old world feel both wide and plain. Back of our house was a sloping field, fence post crooked and a broken wheel. By evening light all the roads turned gold, and every small thing looked brave and old. Now the years move on like a shallow stream, still enough to show what is underneath. And a crow at dusk or a gate on a hill can wake what time never really kills. So I stay a while where the fire speaks low, where the lost days flicker, then come and go, and the sky leans down in a quiet way, like it knows what the heart cannot quite say. Maybe grace is a coal with a little red glow, not a grand bright sign, just enough to know that the road goes on through the brush and stone, and a soul grows strong when it walks alone. When the dark rolls in and the doubts draw near, there's a light in the ash that can still stay clear. They only stand with their shadow backs and their open hands. What lasts in us when the day burns through is the quiet we kept when the world was huge. Maybe grace is a coal with a little red glow, not a grand bright sign, just enough to know when the dark rolls in and the doubts draw near, there's a light in the ash that can still stay clear.
By the river been the campsite side, with a crooked flame and a deep green sky. The kettle shook on a bed of coals, and the fir trees kept what the dusk ones told. Boot soles pressed in the ash and clay, while the last light thinned at the edge of day. And the hush out there in the breathing wild held me small as a wandering child. There was a lane by the house back then, tall weeds, fence wire, and a rusted pen. My mother called through the screen door frame, and the yard went gold in the evening haze. And now the years roll by like a wagon wheel, slow enough to hurt, too fast to heal. But the smell of smoke and the sound of crows can pull a whole lost summer close. So the night comes down and the sparks drift free, like the parts of the past still finding me. And the wide dark hills with their patient grace leave a quieter truth in an open space. Maybe home is not where the old house stood, but a fire held low in a patch of wood, a place in the soul where the silence stays, and the dead roads shine in a tender haze. When the world feels far and the heart runs thin, there's a small burn light that still lets you in. Black leaves stir, then the wind moves on. The earth keeps still when the day is gone. What lasts the most isn't loud or bright, just a faithful ember against the night. Maybe home is not where the old house stood, but a fire held low in a patch of wood. When the world feels far and the heart runs thin, there's a small burn light that still lets you in.
Past the last fence where the gravel road ends, the pines lean in like a circle of friends. Smoke from the kindling climbs thin through the leaves, slow as a thought that the night never leaves. Light on the creek keeps breaking in two, caught in the stones and the deepening blue. Out in the hush where the ridge meets the sky, even the old restless questions go shy. There was a meadow we cut through at dusk, seed on our sleeves and red dirt in the cuffs. Thought every summer would stay in its place, thought we could outrun the change in our face. Now all the long years have weathered the frame, taken a little and left me unnamed. Still when the wind moves the grass by the hill, home is a sound that goes quiet and still. Maybe belief is a path through the trees, worn by the weight of unhurried feet. Small in the white of its steady and plain, learning that wonder and doubt share a name. Let the fire follow, let the red stay still and my heart learns to move. No bright conclusion came down with the stars, only the crickets and one beating heart. Only the trail with its slow, faithful bend, teaching the lost how to loosen again. Let the fire follow, let the red embers breathe, let the dark hold close what it won't let me keep. Here where the field and the silence agree, something goes missing and something grows free.
At the end of the road where the wheel tracks fade, there's a fire and a ring and a wall of shade. Pine smoke drifting through the lowering sky, thin as a prayer that forgets to rise. Dust on my cuffs and the earth gone still, light slipping down from the back of the hill. Somewhere a creek keeps time in the stones, soft as a hand on a weathered home. There was a field where we ran as boys, pockets full of nails and broken toys. Thought every fence was a thing to clear, thought the wide world would stay that near. Now the years move slow through the timberline, leave their mark in the bone and spine. Still when the sumac shakes in the dust, home comes back in the smell of dust. Maybe belief is a small warm flame, not there to answer, just they're all the same. Small in the dark but steady and bright enough for the next few steps tonight. Let the tall grass lean where the wind goes through, let the fire burn down to a cold red hue. Here where the silence is broad and deep, even old sorrow can loosen its teeth. Under a sky too wide to name, a man grows quiet and stays the same. Sign written up in the stars, only the night and the shape of things are. Only a trail with its worn out grace, teaching the heart how to leave some space. Let the tall grass lean where the wind goes through, let the fire burn down to a cold red hue. Here where the silence is broad and deep, Even old sorrow can loosen its teeth.
Old maps are folded where the creases start to tear, like lines upon a face or the scent of autumn air. The tall grass is leaning where the orchard used to stand, tracing out the shadows of a long forgotten hand. Each step is a question that the gravel doesn't mind, leaving all the heavy thoughts and rusted gates behind. The road is a ribbon that was untied long ago. Ooh. Tall pine, tall pines are whispering things I used to know, back when the horizon felt like somewhere I could go. Now the hills are leaning in to hear the silence speak, while the light is turning amber and the afternoon grows weak. Memory is a riverbed, polished smooth and deep, guarding all the secrets that the valley used to keep. There's a comfort in the distance, in the way the colors fade. Breath becomes a hollow sound, steady on this hollow ground. And this open horizon feels so vast, a ghost of a feeling from my past. All the miles we once walked are just gone, but the ground underfoot keeps leading on. Firelight is dancing on the edges of the dark. Every little ember is a fading ancient spark. We are small beneath the ceiling of the wide and lonely sky. And this open horizon feels so vast, a ghost of a feeling from my past. The ground underfoot keeps leading on.
By the rise of the trail where the tall oaks lean, day goes dim in a wash of green. Fire bites soft at the edge of the stones. Smoke goes up in a thread of its own. Mug in my hand and the ground below, warm from the light of a patient glow. Far hills fade where the last birds wheel. Something things vanish and still stay real. There was a path near the house back then, cut through weeds by the shed and pen. June on the boards and the screen door slam, dust in the sink and a jar of jam. Years have a way of thinning the frame, taking the porch but leaving the name. Now every mile that the quiet draws brings back the boy with his scuffed up thoughts. Out where the trees leave room for the sky, doubt walks close but it passes by. Fate's not a bell and it's not a sign, just a small warm coal that refuses to die. So let me stay where the slow road's been, where the fields go out and the fence posts in. Let me be small in the breathing dusk, made of a little hope and a little dust. If there's a truth in the wild unknown, it meets me here when I'm here alone. No loud answer, no sudden flame, just the dark growing soft around my name. Just one fire and a sky stretched wide, and an old deep hush on the hillside. So let me stay where the slow road's been, where the fields go out and the fence posts in. If there's a truth in a wild unknown, it meets me here when I'm here alone.
At the edge of the pines where the dirt road dips, fire puts gold on the blackened tips. Kettle hums low by a circle of stone. Smoke climbs up like a word half known. Far off hills in the thinning light hold their shape till the end of the night. Breath meets dusk in the cooling air. Nothing is said, but the heart stays there. Back of the house was a field of green, high with clover and long between. Barefoot paths through the seed and thorn, shirts on a line in the early morn. Years went by like a creek through clay. still burning. Out where the last light lay so thin. Doubt walks close, but it don't step in. Faith's not loud and it don't stand tall. Just a small flame that outlives all. So let me go where the tall grass waves, past the old fence posts and the quiet graves. Let me be small in the evening sky, with the smoke gone up and the hawks gone by. If there's a truth that the dark can keep, it lives in the ground and it breathes that deep. No bright sign and no grand design, just a slowed earth and a borrowed time. Just one fire on a hillside bare, and a soul grown still in the open air. So let me go where the tall grass waves, past the old fence posts and the quiet graves. If there's a truth that the dark can keep, it lives in the ground and it breathes that deep.
The road ran out by a stand of fire, where the light got thin and the air grew clear. Dust on my boots, pine smoke in my shirt. Fire in the rain and a darkened night. Down through the valley the last birds flew. The fields held still in a fading blue. Nothing but stones in the creak of the trees. Night coming on with its unhurried ease. There was a time when the hills felt near, wide as a promise and twice as clear. Ran through the clover with scraped up shins, grass on my hands and the sun on my skin. Now all the years have a slower way, leave their mark but they teach me grace. Still when the wind moves the weeds by the fence, home comes back in the smallest sense. Maybe fate is a faint campfire glow, not a loud voice, just a way to go. Small in the sweep of the land and sky, still standing here as the dark goes by. Let the fire burn low, let the tall grass sway, let the night unspool what I could not say. Here where the wide earth gathers me in, lost grows quiet with the cricket's hymn. Under a sky that is deep and far, a heart can be small and still know where you are. No grand answer came down through the pines, only the smoke in the patient night. Only a trail with its pale worn bend, teaching teaching my feet how to trust again. Let the fire burn low, let the tall grass sway, let the night unspool what I could not say. Here where the wide earth gathers me in. Lost grows quiet with the cricket's hymn. Under a sky that is deep and far, a heart can be small and still know where you are. Down where the footpath bends through fern, the pines stand still and let light turn. A kettle hums above the flame. The dark comes slow and stays unnamed. Smoke threads up through the evening air, like old prayers nobody put anywhere. And all this ground beneath my boots keeps better time than I ever do. There was a field behind our place, tall grass leaning in the whole world west. My brothers laugh, the screen doors swing, dust in the throat of everything. Now miles have worn a quieter skin, and age walks soft where it once ran wild. But some roads live in the chest so deep they rise at dusk and trouble sleep. So I sit with the hush and the spark and the shade, with the names I've lost and the ones that still stay. And the night doesn't answer, not plainly, not true. It just opens its hand and lets silence come through. Maybe faith is a trail through the brush and the briar, a faint little glow at the edge of the fire. Not a sign in the sky, not a voice breaking through, just the weight of the earth saying, kid, walk it through. When the white dark settles and the old questions start, there's a small steady country still lit into the heart. Oh, the hills don't hurt, the blackbirds don't plead. Stone holds the weather and grass holds the sea. What stays isn't always the thing you can see. Sometimes it's only what waits quietly. Maybe faith is a trail through the brush and the briar, a faint little glow at the edge of the fire. When the white dark settles and the old questions start, there's a small steady country still lit in the heart.
Over the fading hill, and even the dark had a kind of will. Boots in the dust by the sleeping pack. Smoke went up and never looked back. Somewhere beyond where the tree lines end, the night leaned close like a listening friend. There was a road by our old back field, 2 ruts, some grass, and a rusted wheel. My father would pause where the fence post bowed, like he could hear what the years said aloud. Now the miles wear out what the hands once knew. Boards go soft and the pain bleeds through. Still a gate in the mind swings wide when the light falls down on the farther side. So I stay where the embers breathe and fade, where the heart speaks plain when the world grows vague. And the hush in the grass and the pool in the sky make a small kind of truth I can't pass by. Maybe you're only a spark in the brush, a name in the smoke, then a turn in a hush. But the ground holds firm and the stars lean near, and the lost things ring a little more clear when the white night opens and I feel that ache. There's a path through the dark that the small fires make. The hills keep watch, but they never explain. They carry the sun and release it again. What answers me most when the world feels far is the sound of my boots and a single star. Maybe we're only a spark in the brush, a name in the smoke, then a turn in a hush when the white night opens and I feel that ache. There's a path through the dark that the small fires make.
The fire lay low in a ring of stone. The pine stood back and the dust came on. The slow wind moved through the needles high, like a careful head through a sleepless mind. The trail behind still held some heat, and daylight clung to the dust on my feet. And the creek nearby in its winding course kept talking soft with an old shore voice. There was a field where the house once stood, a pear tree bent in a stack of wood. By the fence row weeds would climb and curl, and the gate would groan to the evening birds. Now the years have thinned like smoking light, still they settle back some nights when a fire dims and a crow cuts through. All that vanished comes back in view. So the dark rolls in and the small flames stay Or maybe faith is not some mountain sign, just a fire tended one stick at a time. Just a path worn down where the boot soles pass, and a hand to the earth in the midnight grass. When the sky goes deep and the self feels small, there's a quiet strong enough to hold it all. The hills don't speak, but they never lie. They carry the dark and return the light. What stays with us when the day is done might be less like thunder, more like a hum. Or maybe faith is not some mountain sign, just a fire tended one stick at a time. When the sky goes deep and the self feels small, there's a quiet strong enough to hold it all.
At the edge of the clearing, the fire burned slow, throwing warm light on the stones in a row. Pine smoke rose up through the still of the trees, soft as a word carried off by the breeze. Footpath grew thin by the grass. Day left the hill like a hand made of glass. Far in the distance the last blackbird flew, leaving the dusk with its deepening blue. A field by the old gravel lane. We ran through the seed heads again and again. Pockets full of pebbles, our hands full of burrs, certain the wide world would always be ours. Now all those seasons lie low in the ground, quiet as roots that don't ask to be found. Still when the wind moves the weeds by the fence, home comes back whole in the smallest of sense. Maybe belief is a road without noise, not made of thunder but small faithful joys. Small as a lantern, half lost in the weeds, still giving light to the hour that needs. Let the fire go down, let the red embers stay, let the dark take the long tired ache of the day. Here where the silence and tall grasses lean, lost turns gentle in the hush, in between, under a sky that is wide as it seems. Even a small life can carry its meaning. No grand answer fell out of Only a trail with its slow, steady bend, teaching the heart how to soften again. Let the fire go down, let the red embers stay. Let the dark take the long, tired ache of the day. Here where the silence and tall grasses lean, lost turns gentle in the hush in between. The gravel road went pale at dusk. The cedar post wore time and rust. The lantern swayed beside the flame, and every shadow changed its name. The meadow breathed in seeds and dust. The fire popped low, then fell to hush. Far off the ridge held one last line of amber light against the pine. There was a hill behind our house, a tire swing and a weathered plow. By supper time the swallows dipped, and red dirt stained our hands and shins. Those summers never thought to stay, they moved like smoke at end of day. But sometimes in the settling black, a cricket song can bring them back. So the night rolls in and the bright things thin, till the heart speaks up where the noise has been, and the wide still land with its patient span makes a smaller, truer shape of a man. And maybe all we are is a borrowed spark, a little warm light in a field of dark, trying to last where the tall grass bends, trying to name what the silence meant. When the world grows vast and the road runs far, there's a steadying grace in how small we are. Trees don't plead, they bow to the wind and return to ease. What stays in the soul when the day is gone isn't something found, it's something drawn. Maybe all we are is a borrowed spark, a little warm light in a field of dark. When the world grows vast and the road runs far, there's a steadying grace in how small we are.
By the wash of the lantern and the cedar smoke, the trail climbed slow where the hillside broke. Grass at my ankles, dust on my jeans. Night in the pines came soft and clean. Out past the fire where the shadows thin, the dark held still like a listening friend. No sound but the creek through the bed of stone, and the wide black field breathing all alone. was a pasture behind our place, tall enough then to hide a face. Ran through the seed heads, wild and blind, certain the road would be sweet and kind. Now every mile has a different weight. Some names grow faint and some names stay. Still when the sunlight bends in the breeze, home comes back on the hush of the leaves. Maybe faith is a small steady flame, not there to answer, just there to remain. Small as a footstep, plain as a sigh, under a heaven too wide to deny. Let the hillside keep what I can't hold. Let the fire burn down red and gold. Here where the silence is honest and deep, even the lost things can finally sleep. Under the weight of the star-warm blue, the world stays vast and I walk it through. No clear sign in the limbs above, only the dark and a little enough. Only a trail with its worn out grace, teaching my heart how to stay in one place. Let the hillside keep what I can't hold. Let the fire burn down red and gold. Here where the silence is honest and deep, even the lost things can finally sleep. Past the last fence where the back roads fade, evening settles in a softer shade. Firelight flickers on a coffee can, smoke writes a line, then it breaks again. Pine roots rise through the rust-red ground, boot heels hush where the creek goes round. Out on the hill where the light runs thin, silence opens and the night walks in. There was a yard with a rope swing tree, dust on the porch and a screen door key. Mother would hum while the beans boiled down. Dad came home with the sawmill sound. Now every trail has a bend that stays, like the old worn crease in our younger days. Time goes by like a wagon wheel, slow till it's gone, but you catch the feel. Nothing speaks but the dark draws near. Wide as a prayer, plain as a fear. out where the far fields loosen the fray. Small things matter without a name. So let me rest where the tall grass sways, under the weight of the fading days. Faith is a coal with a patient red, warm in the hand where the light has fled. If there's a road through the doubt, I know it's lit by the things that burn down low. No bright sun in the sky above, just smoke and dust and a borrowed love for the quiet earth and the shifting air, for being so small and still held there. So let me rest where the tall grass sways, under the weight of the fading days. Faith is a coal with a patient red, warm in the hand where the light has fled.
Timber, the footpath curled out of the noise in the nailed up world. Dust on the laces, smoke in the air, pines going dark in the evening prayer. Down in the hollow the creek ran slow, dragging its light where the flat stone showed. Nothing but fire and the hiss of the grass and the whole white dust letting daylight pass. There was a hillside behind our home, wild with thistle and bits of bone. We ran that ridge till the sun fell through, certain the earth would keep us true. Now all the years have a steadier hand. They take some names but they leave the land. Still when the blackbirds rise from the weeds, home comes back in the smallest things. Maybe belief is a quiet flame, not there to answer, just there to remain. Small in the sweep of the fields and the sky, still giving shape to the passing by. Let the fire burn low, let the long grass lean, let the night say less than it used to mean. Here where the dark and the old trail meet, lost grows lighter with the dust at my feet. Under a sky too wide to own, a heart can be small and still feel home. No grand sign in the limbs above, only the smoke and a little enough. Only the road with its worn out bend, teaching the soul how to loosen again. Let the fire burn low, let the long grass lean, let the night say less than it used to mean. Here where the dark and the old trail meet, lost grows lighter with the dust at my feet. Ooh. Rest on the road where the tall grass bends, light in the pines where the long day ends. Smoke from the fire climbs into the leaves, slow as a thought that the heart still keeps. Stoned by my boot and the kettle low, creak in the dark with a patient flow. Out past the ridge where the bare fields lie, small fields honest beneath that sky. There was a lane by the house I knew, blackberry fence and a boardwalk through. Mother would call when the swallows turned, shadows grew long and the porch light burned. Now every mile has a quieter sound, less of the boy and more of the ground. Time moves through us the way roots move rain, taking its share, then returning again. Nothing is said, but the night stays near, wide as a song, yet plain as a fear. Out where the trail meets the open land, faith is a coal that can warm one hand. So I keep on where the dry weeds lean, through all the places my life has been, somewhere between what is lost and known. The dark makes room and I'm not alone. If there is grace, it is deep and slow, there in the dust where the soft winds blow. Falls from above, just cedar smoke and the weight of love, for the old dirt road and the evening air, for being so small and still being there. So I keep on where the dry weeds lean, through all the places my life has been. If there is grace, it is deep and slow, there in the dust where the soft winds blow. Blacktop thins breaks into gravel and tall broom grass stems, pines by the shoulder go dark one by one, holding the last of the heat from the sun. Smoke from the fire curls out of the ring, drips through the dusk like a half-spoken thing. Somewhere a screen door swings once in the air, then even that sound gives itself to the bear. Back when the creek was the edge of the known, bare feet on shale and a jar full of stones, days tide of time. Now all that was certain has weathered and worn. Boards in the barn and the sleeve of a shirt. Still when the wind moves the gold through the rye, old names rise up like birds into the sky. Maybe the world never meant to explain. Maybe it has to be walked in the same. Small as a lantern set down in the grass, steady enough for the dark as it passes. Let the hill carry the weight of the day. Let the smoke drift where the lost things lay. Here in the hush where the earth settles in, mercy comes quiet, thin-skinned as the wind. Out where the white land loosens my name. Nothing is fixed, but nothing's in vain. No shining answer came down from above, only the dry wood, the night, and enough. Only a trail with its slow open bend, teaching the heart how to leave and descend. Let the hill carry the weight of the day. Let the smoke drift where the lost things lay. Out where the white land loosens my name. Nothing is fixed, but nothing's in vain.
Where the dirt road deals by the sycamore roots, evening lays gold on the toes of my boots. Smoke from a campfire goes up through the green, thin as a thought and as hard to be seen. Somewhere a creek keeps worrying stone, making a sound like a house half known. Out where the fence line gives way to the wild, the dark settles in like the breath of a child. There was a pasture behind our old place, birds in our socks and the sun on our faces. Ran till the field turned the whole sky around, certain forever was flat as that ground. Now all the years have their own patient way. They bend the back roads, but they do not break. Still when the tall grass bows under the breeze, home comes back slow through the hush of the leaves. Maybe belief is a low burning flame, not there to answer, just there all the same. Small in the sweep of the hill and the plain, learning that wonder can walk beside pain. Let the night come easy, let the fire burn thin, let the wide earth take what I can carry in. Here where the silence and memory meet, lost scrolls lighter with the dust at my feet. Under a sky that I'll never outgrow, some pines and their old patient prayer. Only the trail with its warm, quiet tone, teaching the heart how to leave and come home. Let the night come easy, let the fire burn thin, let the wide earth take what I can carry in. Here where the silence and memory meet, the loss grows lighter with the dust at my feet. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. A yellow dust lay flat on the pines. The trail ran thin like an old hand's line. My pack hit earth by patches shared, and the fire took hold of a broken rail. The creek spoke low through the roots and reeds, like it knew the shape of forgotten things. And the hush out there in the settling blue felt older than doubt and kinder too. Back home there was a slope of grass and a shed gone gray and a window cracked. My mother called when the lights sank red, and the smoke would drift from the orchard's edge. And those evenings now come strange and slow, half in the dust and half in the bone. Still some part of me turns that way when the hills go dark at the end of day. So I wait with the coals and the bending flame, with the hours that went and the ones that change. And the sky stays wide where the words fall short, like a patient hand at the edge of thought. Maybe life is a fire you tend in the wild, a little bit lost and a little reconciled. Not a grand reply from the cedar above, just a soft burn learning the shape of enough. When the night comes down and the old fears start, there's a road made of embers leading through the heart. Black oak leans, but it does not break. The moon climbs out through the smoke and haze. What stays with us is rarely bright. Sometimes it glows at the rim of night. Maybe life is a fire you tend in the wild, a little bit lost and a little reconciled. When the night comes down